So today we're going to show you a super healthy, very inexpensive, really easy to make recipe. It's a stew. This is a vegetarian recipe, but if you want to add meat to it for more protein, you can, because it does not have a ton of protein. It's about 10% protein, which probably sounds low to a lot of you guys, but you really do not need as much protein as the industry tends to tell you. But if you want it, you can either add meat, like chicken would probably go really good with this, or you can add more of the protein-rich grains or beans that are in this recipe, like lentils, are super high in protein. These ingredients here make 10 servings. One serving is 350 calories, 7 grams of protein, 26 grams of carbs, and 26 grams of fat. So it's about 10% protein, 45% carbs, 45% fat. So pretty high on the carbs and fat, but this macronutrient ratio really works well for me energy-wise. I eat this stuff like pretty much every day. I make a big batch of this like once a week. So we're just going to show you what we have going on here ingredients wise. We've got black rice, millet, amaranth, green lentils, red lentils, mung beans, bulgur wheat, quinoa, and chia seeds and flax seeds. And then we've got coconut oil. And for spices, we have curry powder, ground cumin, cayenne pepper, garam masala, basil leaves, salt and pepper, and turmeric. And then onions and garlic. Now, you don't have to do onions and garlic in this recipe. It's still pretty dank without those. And you can also like double this. If you really like garlic and onions, usually I have like 5 or 6 medium onions or 2 really large ones and 10 cloves of garlic. The reason I'm doing less this time is just because I tend to get a little bit of irritation in my stomach, like a little bit of heat after I eat this, and I think it might be because of the onions and garlic, or maybe the cayenne pepper, so I'm going to go a little light on those today and see how that goes. So, let's get going. So I'm going to show you guys a little trick for chopping onions that I just learned recently. So one thing that this is going to do is make it so that not as many gases come out that make your eyes water. And that is to, when you cut the onion, make sure you cut this side and not the side with the root, because if you cut the root, then all the gases come out and you're going to cry more. So there's a trick to really cut these a lot more uniformly and quickly. And what you do is you cut it in half from the root, long ways like this, and then vertical, you chop it in cubes like this, but not all the way down to the cutting board. So you just chop it like 80% of the way down like this, so that it stays together. It's not falling apart yet. And I'll do this all across. I'm just trying to do it slow so you can see what I'm doing here. And then you cut it in half horizontally, like this. And once again, you don't cut it all the way. You just cut like close to the root so that most of the onion stays together. And now, you can just chop it up real quick and uniform like this. And you get perfect cube-sized pieces.
That's so cool.
Right? So I'm trying something a little bit different when it comes to cooking the grains this time. Usually what I'll do is I'll cook all of the grains separately in separate pans and then add them to the stew and then add more water later on. But what I'm going to try this time is just cooking all of the grains in the actual pot with the rest of the stew, because cooking them separately is kind of obnoxious. It kind of clutters up the whole stove because you have to use all 4 burners. We have like 7 different grains. And I have like a rice cooker going too sometimes, so I'm going to experiment. And basically what I'm going to do, since the grains take different times to cook, with the rice being the longest, which is about 45 minutes, I'm just going to set a timer for 45 minutes and then put the rice in. And actually first I'm going to put all of the water that it would take to cook all of these grains in the pot, and then I'm going to put the rice in and set a timer for 45 minutes. And then when it gets to the times that it takes for all of the rest of the grains to cook, I'm going to add those grains. So when it gets to 35 minutes, that's when I'm going to add the amaranth. Or I think amaranth's 25, but you get what I'm saying. Like the bulgur wheat only takes like 10 minutes to cook, so I'm going to add that when there's only 10 minutes left on the timer. So I'm just going to add those as the timer counts down. And I'm going to see how that goes. I don't know if it'll work out, because I've just been tending to overcook the grains, because I'll cook them separately and then I'll add them to the stew, and the stew continues to cook for a little while, and then they're just like too mushy. So I'm gonna see if I can make the grains a little chewy doing it this way. So we'll see how that goes. So it's done and time for a little taste test. We're going to see if cooking all the grains at once like this made the grains like more firm or chewy, or if it was long enough. It worked out. Worked out really well. There are a few spices that you want to add at the end, which is basically just salt and pepper, and because they don't temper really well under heat, if you add the salt and pepper afterwards, like each time you heat it up and have a serving of it, it's much better. Another thing I love to add to it is nutritional yeast, which is basically like, if it's fortified with B vitamins, it's basically like a complete B vitamin, just like a tablespoon of it. I also like to put yogurt in it with like chopped up chives, and lemon juice is also really good in it. But honestly, it stands on its own feet. You just like add salt and pepper. It's pretty great. So let us know if you try this out and what you think of this recipe. We're gonna post the full description, like the written form of it, down below in the description of this video. So, okay, so like I said earlier, guys, this recipe makes 10 servings of 350 calories, 7 grams of protein each, 26 grams of carbs, 26 grams of fat. So one serving is about 175 grams, and this is what it looks like. So when I meal prep for this, what I'll do is go 5 days at a time. So it's about a half a cup, like a heaping half cup in each one of these containers, and I'll eat that next week, and then the rest of it I can just put in a bigger container and freeze it for a week, and then do the same thing at the beginning of next week. This only keeps in the refrigerator for about a week. I mean, it probably would keep for, I would say, up to 10 days. But if you're cooking this for just one person, I would recommend freezing half of it and then thawing it a week after. So there you have it.